I've decided to start a new life without you." The words hung in the air of the upscale waterfront restaurant where we'd gathered to celebrate my daughter's college graduation. Marcus, my husband of 25 years, stood with his champagne glass still raised. His announcement displacing the toast he was supposed to be making to Olivia's achievements. The clinking of silverware ceased. Conversations halted mid-sentence. 75 pairs of eyes darted between Marcus and me, waiting for my reaction. For the tears, the shouting, the dramatic exit everyone expected. Instead I smiled. "Congratulations on your honesty. My name is Victoria Sterling. I am 52 years old, and until this moment, I had been playing the role of the devoted wife and mother perfectly. I put my own career aspirations on hold to support Marcus through 4 business ventures, 3 career changes, and countless soul-searching phases. I raised our brilliant daughter Olivia, who sat beside me now, her graduation cap still perched on her head, her expression frozen in horror. From the corner of my eye, I could see Isabel Parker, Marcus's much younger girlfriend, shifting uncomfortably at the back table where she sat with people I had considered friends for decades. The same friends who apparently knew about the affair but never thought to tell me. The same Isabel who had attended our New Year's parties, who had once asked me for career advice about her marketing position. With practiced calm, I reached into my handbag and pulled out a sealed cream-colored envelope. I placed it gently beside Marcus's plate. "What's this?" he asked, his triumphant expression faltering. "Something for you to read later," I replied, keeping my voice steady. I turned to Olivia, whose face had gone pale. I kissed her cheek. "I am so proud of you, sweetheart. This day is still about your accomplishment." Then I stood, smoothed my dress, and addressed our stunned guests. "Please enjoy your meal. I wish you all a lovely afternoon." With that, I walked out of the restaurant, my head held high, feeling 75 pairs of eyes following me. The heavy door swung shut behind me, cutting off the beginning of anxious murmurs. Outside, the Charleston summer heat hit me like a wall, but I welcomed it. For the first time in years, I could breathe freely. Behind me, I heard the restaurant door open and slam shut, followed by Marcus's voice, no longer confident but high-pitched and frantic. "Victoria, what the hell is this? What have you done?" I kept walking, allowing myself a small smile. The envelope I'd handed him contained the beginning of my revenge, one I'd been meticulously planning for 4 months. I had always been the practical one in our marriage. While Marcus dreamed big and took risks, I maintained the stability our family needed. I was the one who saved for Olivia's education when Marcus invested unwisely in his college friend's tech startup. I was the one who worked extra hours as a senior finance director at Coastal Bank when his midlife crisis led him to quit his stable position to pursue his passion for craft distilling. A passion that lasted approximately 7 months before he grew bored. My own dreams of opening a wealth management consultancy for women were perpetually on hold. After Olivia graduates, I told myself. After Marcus finds stability. 4 months ago, I noticed discrepancies in our joint accounts. Small transfers to an account I didn't recognize. Having spent 22 years managing our family finances with meticulous care, these irregularities stood out like red flags. I could have confronted Marcus immediately, but something held me back. Perhaps it was intuition. Or perhaps it was the growing distance between us over the past 18 months. Instead, I began quietly investigating. What I discovered was worse than I imagined. Marcus had been systematically moving funds to a separate account for over 14 months. He had also been taking Isabel to expensive restaurants in Savannah, purchasing jewelry from Tiffany's, and looking at beachfront condominiums in Hilton Head, all while telling me we needed to tighten our belts for retirement. Then came the text messages I discovered when Marcus left his phone unlocked one Sunday morning. Messages about their new life together. Messages about how he was finally breaking free from a marriage that had become suffocating. Messages about their plans for the week after Olivia's graduation, the day he had chosen to make his grand exit from our marriage. What Marcus had forgotten, or perhaps never fully grasped, was that I had been a financial professional for 28 years. I understood money trails. I knew how to trace assets. And most importantly, I remembered the prenuptial agreement we had signed 25 years ago when I had more family wealth than he did. The agreement he had insisted upon, ironically, to protect his future earnings, contained a fidelity clause that would prove to be his undoing. While Marcus plotted his escape with Isabel, I was building my case. I consulted with attorneys discreetly, meeting in coffee shops in neighboring towns where no one would recognize me. I documented every hidden transfer with screenshots and bank statements. I gathered evidence of their affair through a private investigator I hired using money from my personal account Marcus didn't know existed. I prepared divorce papers with precision and care. I timed everything perfectly, knowing Marcus would want to wait until after Olivia's graduation to avoid ruining her big day. What he didn't expect was that I would serve the divorce papers the morning of the graduation, before his planned announcement. But with the papers still safely hidden in court records not yet accessible to him, what Marcus didn't know was that I was always 4 steps ahead. I didn't return to the restaurant. Instead, I drove to our home, a spacious colonial revival in Charleston's historic district that we had purchased 16 years ago. The house that Marcus had already promised to Isabel, according to text messages he didn't realize I had copied. I parked in the circular driveway and calmly entered what had been our shared space for over a decade and a half. Everything looked the same. The family photos on the walls chronicling Olivia's childhood. The antique grandfather clock that had been my father's. The worn leather sectional where Marcus and I had once dreamed of our future together. Yet everything had changed. I went upstairs to the master bedroom and opened the walk-in closet. Marcus's clothing was already packed in designer suitcases, hidden behind my winter coats, ready for his planned departure tomorrow. I smiled at his predictability. He had always been meticulous about appearances, but careless about the important things. My phone buzzed incessantly with messages from friends at the restaurant, from Olivia, even from Marcus's sister Patricia, who had flown in from Boston for the graduation. I responded only to my daughter. Okay. This isn't your burden to carry. Enjoy your graduation day. We'll talk tonight. I love you more than anything. I had protected Olivia from the truth for 4 months, not wanting to overshadow her final semester with family drama. She would be angry that I hadn't told her, but I knew she would understand eventually. Olivia had inherited my practicality along with her father's charisma, a powerful combination that had helped her graduate summa cum laude with a degree in economics. 3 hours later, I heard Marcus's car screech into the driveway. The front door slammed open with enough force to rattle the windows. "Victoria!" he shouted, his voice echoing through the house. "Where are you?" I was sitting in the living room, calmly reviewing documents on my laptop. I closed it as he stormed in. His face flushed with anger, the envelope clutched in his hand. "What is the meaning of this?" he demanded, waving the papers. "You served me with divorce papers today of all days." "I thought it aligned nicely with your plans," I replied calmly. "You wanted to start your new life. I'm simply helping facilitate the transition on your preferred timeline. You had no right to." "I had every right," I interrupted, my voice steady. "Just as you had every right to choose Isabel. We all make choices, Marcus. Today you learned about the consequences of yours. The prenup expired years ago," he said, his voice suddenly smug, clearly repeating something a lawyer friend had told him casually. "Any attorney will tell you that after 25 years, these things become unenforceable." I allowed myself a small smile. Actually, it didn't. Section 12, subsection C specifically states that the fidelity clause remains in effect for the duration of the marriage regardless of years elapsed. Your lawyer should have explained that to you. Oh wait, you didn't consult one before planning your exit, did you? The color drained from his face as reality began to sink in. The prenup he had insisted upon to protect his potential wealth would now cost him everything. The house, the vacation property in the mountains, his portion of our retirement accounts, and most of the liquid assets we'd accumulated. His grand gesture at the restaurant had just become the most expensive announcement of his life. "You can't do this to me," Marcus said, collapsing onto the couch. "We built this life together. And you chose to end it," I replied, "though not in the way you planned." Marcus's phone buzzed persistently in his pocket. He glanced at it, then ignored it. Isabel, no doubt, wondering where he was and why he wasn't following their carefully orchestrated plan. "You've always been calculating, Victoria. But this is cold," he said, trying a different approach. "What about our history? 25 years together means nothing." I studied him carefully. This man I had loved for a quarter century. The man who had held my hand through my father's death. The man who had surprised me with a weekend trip to Savannah for our 10th anniversary. When had he changed? Or had he always been this person, and I had been too devoted to notice? "Our history meant everything to me," I answered truthfully. "That's why your betrayal hurt so deeply." His expression softened momentarily, perhaps seeing an opening. Then maybe we can fix this. I made a mistake. People make mistakes. We can go to counseling. This wasn't a mistake, Marcus, I interrupted. This was a calculated plan spanning more than a year. You systematically moved our money. You looked at property with her. You planned to announce our separation publicly to humiliate me in front of everyone we know. His face hardened again. You're exaggerating. Am I? I picked up my phone, opened the recording app, and played his own voice back to him. After the graduation, I'll tell her it's over. Public setting is better. She won't make a scene in front of everyone. Then Isabel's voice. And she has no idea about the money. Marcus again, none. Victoria trusts me completely. That's her weakness. The blood drained from his face completely. You recorded our conversations. That's illegal. Not in South Carolina when one party consents, I responded. And not when it's in your own home. I didn't record your private moments with Isabel. I'm not cruel. Just the conversations about your plans to defraud me. Marcus stood suddenly agitated. I need to make some calls. Course, I said. Your attorney might be a good start. I'll be staying at Patricia's tonight. Patricia's. He sputtered. My sister's house. He nodded. She's quite upset with you, actually. She was the one who first spotted you and Isabel together last Christmas at that restaurant in Savannah. She didn't tell me immediately. She confronted you first. You promised her it was nothing, that you would end it. When she realized you hadn't, she came to me in March. This was another blow he hadn't anticipated. Patricia and I had always been close, but Marcus never imagined his own sister would choose my side. Everyone's betraying me, he muttered. Ironic, isn't it? I gathered my purse and a small overnight bag I had packed earlier. You have until tomorrow evening to remove your belongings from the house. After that, the locks will be changed. As I headed toward the door, Marcus called after me, desperation creeping into his voice. What about Olivia? Have you thought about how this affects her? I paused, anger finally breaking through my calm facade. Don't you dare use our daughter as a shield, Marcus. You certainly weren't thinking about her when you were planning your new beachfront life with Isabel. His phone buzzed again. This time he looked at it and groaned. Problem. Yes. Isabel is at the apartment already. She's moved her things in. I couldn't help but smile. The apartment you put in both your names. The lease you signed last month. Marcus nodded, looking confused. You might want to check with the leasing office. That application was flagged for credit verification issues and never finalized. The management company called our home phone to verify information 3 weeks ago. I took care of it personally. I walked out the door, leaving Marcus to face the first of many consequences. His perfectly planned new life was unraveling faster than he could process. Patricia lived in a charming Victorian in the Battery District, close to the water. When I arrived, she greeted me with a fierce hug. I just heard from Olivia, she said, pulling me inside. Are you okay? I'm better than I expected, I admitted, following her to the sunroom where a bottle of wine was already open. I never thought Marcus would make such a spectacle, Patricia said, pouring 2 generous glasses. The restaurant in front of everyone. He's lost his mind. It was meant to humiliate me, I explained, accepting the glass. A public rejection, so I couldn't fight back without looking hysterical. Patricia's face darkened. My brother always did have a flair for drama, but this is beyond anything I expected from him. We settled in her sunroom, surrounded by hanging plants and comfortable wicker furniture. Patricia had never married, preferring her independence and her career as a literature professor at the College of Charleston. Over the years, I had sometimes envied her freedom. What did you put in that envelope that made him so upset? She asked. I explained the contents. The divorce filing, the evidence of his financial deception, and most importantly, the prenuptial agreement that would leave him with far less than he had planned. The prenup. Patricia laughed. I remember when he insisted on it. Father had just given you that trust fund distribution, and Marcus was so worried about protecting his future earnings. She shook her head. The irony is delicious. My phone rang. Olivia. I took a deep breath before answering. Mom, she said immediately, her voice strained. I'm coming over to Aunt Patricia's. Honey, you don't have to. I'm already on my way, she interrupted. Dad is telling everyone you've lost your mind, that you've been planning this for months out of jealousy. He's saying horrible things. Course he was. Marcus always rewrote narratives to cast himself as the victim. Let him talk, I said. The truth will become clear soon enough. 20 minutes later, Olivia arrived, still in her graduation dress, but with her makeup smudged from crying. She fell into my arms like she used to as a child after a nightmare. "Why didn't you tell me?" she asked, her voice muffled against my shoulder. "I didn't want to ruin your final semester," I explained. "You work so hard for this day." She pulled back, wiping her eyes. "Well, Dad took care of ruining it anyway." We moved to Patricia's living room where Olivia finally got the full story. How I had discovered the affair, the financial deceptions, and the plans Marcus and Isabel had made. "I knew something was off with Dad," Olivia admitted. "He's been different for over a year. Distracted, always on his phone, making excuses for why he couldn't come to my campus events. But I never imagined this. None of us want to see these things in people we love," Patricia said gently. My phone buzzed with a text message from Richard Hayes, my attorney. The emergency filing had been approved. The accounts I had identified were frozen, pending the divorce proceedings. Marcus now had limited access to funds, enough for basic living expenses, but not enough to follow through on the property purchases he had planned with Isabel. I showed the message to Patricia and Olivia. "Good," Olivia said firmly. "He deserves it." My daughter's loyalty warmed me, but I wasn't naive about the complexity of their relationship. "He's still your father," I reminded her. "Your relationship with him is separate from what's happening between us." Olivia shook her head. "Maybe someday I can separate it. But right now I can't even look at him." He hugged me this morning and told me how proud he was, all while planning to blow up our family hours later. The doorbell rang, interrupting our conversation. Patricia went to answer it, returning moments later with a troubled expression. "It's Marcus," she said quietly. "And he's not alone." I steadied myself as Patricia led Marcus and Isabel into the living room. Isabel looked deeply uncomfortable, shifting her weight from one foot to the other, her eyes darting around the room. She was 34, not exactly a trophy wife, but still 18 years my junior, with shoulder-length blonde hair and the kind of polished confidence that comes from never having faced real adversity. Marcus, by contrast, looked furious. His earlier desperation had hardened into anger. "Victoria, you need to stop this insanity," he demanded. "Unfreeze the accounts. We can discuss this like reasonable adults." Olivia stood up, placing herself slightly in front of me. "Maybe you should have tried being reasonable before announcing to everyone that you were leaving Mom on my graduation day." Marcus's eyes widened as if just noticing our daughter. "Olivia, this doesn't involve you." "Doesn't involve me," she echoed incredulously. "You blew up our family on my graduation day, and it doesn't involve me." Isabel touched Marcus's arm gently. "Marcus, maybe we should go." He shook her off. "Well, I'm not leaving until Victoria agrees to be rational about this." Patricia folded her arms. "My sister-in-law seems to be the only rational person in this scenario. You're the one who created this mess, Marcus." I remained seated, watching the drama unfold. For years, I had been the peacemaker, the one who smoothed over conflicts and kept everyone happy. That role was exhausting, and I had finally set it down. "The accounts will remain frozen until the preliminary hearing," I said calmly. "That's in 5 days. The judge will determine appropriate asset division at that time." 5 days. Marcus sputtered. "What am I supposed to do for 5 days?" "You have your personal account," I reminded him. "The one you've been funneling money into for the past 14 months. That should be sufficient." Isabel's head whipped toward Marcus. "You have a separate account with how much in it?" An interesting dynamic was emerging. Clearly, Marcus hadn't been entirely forthcoming with Isabel either about the extent of his financial planning. Marcus ignored her question. "This is vindictive, Victoria. This isn't like you." "Perhaps you never really knew me," I replied. "Just as I apparently never really knew you." Olivia turned to Isabel. "Did you know he was going to announce it like that? At my graduation celebration in front of everyone?" Isabel had the decency to look ashamed. I thought he was going to talk to your mother privately first. The public announcement today was unexpected for me too." Marcus shot her a betrayed look. Cracks were already forming in their united front. "I think you both should leave," Patricia said firmly. "You've upset Olivia enough for one day." "Olivia," Marcus pleaded, "you understand that relationships change, don't you? Sometimes people grow apart. That doesn't make anyone a villain." My daughter's face hardened in a way I had never seen before. "What I understand is that you're a coward who couldn't even give Mom the dignity of a private conversation. What I understand is that you were stealing from our family while I was working 2 campus jobs to help pay for textbooks because you said money was tight." Marcus paled. "That's not how it was." "It's exactly how it was," Olivia cut him off. "Please leave, Dad. I can't look at you right now." The silence that followed was deafening. Finally, Marcus turned to go, Isabel trailing behind him. At the door, he paused and looked back at me. "This isn't over, Victoria. I'll fight you on this." I met his gaze steadily. "You're welcome to try." After they left, Olivia collapsed next to me on the sofa, tears streaming down her face again. I've never talked to Dad like that before. I wrapped my arm around her shoulders. Sometimes standing up for what's right is painful, even when it's necessary. Patricia brought us fresh glasses of wine. "To new beginnings," she said, raising her glass. Indeed, I thought. This ending was just the beginning of something new. The preliminary hearing took place in a small courtroom on a humid Thursday morning. I arrived with my attorney Richard Hayes, a sharp-minded family law specialist with 25 years of experience. Marcus came with a lawyer he had hastily retained, a young associate from a firm that specialized in corporate mergers, not family law. Marcus's poor choice of representation was yet another consequence of his rushed planning and now frozen assets. The judge was an older woman with keen eyes and zero patience for dramatics. "This document appears to be in order," she said, reviewing the prenuptial agreement carefully over her reading glasses at Marcus's attorney. "Do you contest its validity?" The young lawyer cleared his throat nervously. "Your Honor, we believe the agreement has expired due to the passage of time and the evolution of the marriage. Section 12, subsection C clearly states that the duration is for the term of the marriage plus any legal proceedings resulting from its dissolution," the judge read aloud. "There is no expiration date indicated anywhere in this document. The fidelity clause specifically remains in effect regardless of years elapsed." Marcus leaned forward to whisper urgently to his lawyer, who looked increasingly uncomfortable. Furthermore, the judge continued, "The evidence of systematic fund transfers appears to violate the financial disclosure requirements outlined in Section 7 of this agreement." She shuffled through the papers methodically. "I am ruling to maintain the freeze on joint accounts pending full financial discovery. Mr. Sterling's personal account will remain accessible to him. The family home will remain in Mrs. Sterling's possession during proceedings, as stipulated in the prenuptial agreement's infidelity clause." Marcus's face flushed dark red. "This is outrageous," he muttered loud enough for everyone to hear. The judge fixed him with a stern look. "Mr. Sterling, I suggest you review the agreement you signed more carefully. This court will reconvene in 45 days for the full hearing after discovery is complete." As we left the courtroom, Marcus caught up to me in the marble hallway. "Victoria, please. We need to talk about this reasonably. 25 years together has to count for something." "It counted for everything," I replied. "Until you decided it didn't." I walked away, leaving him standing alone in the courthouse corridor, the weight of his choices finally beginning to crush him. Word spread quickly through our social circle in Charleston. Friends called daily, some offering support, others seeking gossip disguised as concern. I maintained a dignified silence about the details, simply saying Marcus and I are separating. Sometimes marriages run their course. Meanwhile, Marcus's carefully constructed facade was crumbling. The image he had cultivated, successful entrepreneur, devoted family man, pillar of the community, was tarnished beyond repair. The financial freeze meant he couldn't follow through on promises made to Isabel. The beachfront condominium they had been planning to purchase in Hilton Head fell through. The luxury Range Rover he had put a deposit on had to be cancelled. 3 weeks after the hearing, Patricia called me, her voice tinged with amusement. "Have you heard the latest?" "What now?" "Isabel moved out. Already." I wasn't entirely surprised, but the speed was impressive. Apparently, she discovered that Marcus's distilling business isn't doing as well as he claimed. The substantial portfolio he talked about doesn't actually exist. She told her friend Jennifer that she didn't sign up to date a man with financial problems and uncertain prospects. I couldn't help but laugh. He always was exceptional at creating illusions. Meanwhile, I was rebuilding. The financial security I had always maintained separately from our joint accounts, something Marcus never knew the full extent of, gave me freedom he hadn't anticipated. I rented a small but elegant office space in downtown Charleston and began setting up the consultancy I had dreamed about for years. My first clients were 3 women going through divorces of their own. Word of mouth brought more. I specialized in helping women understand their finances during major life transitions. Divorces, widowhood, career changes, sudden wealth. The work was immediately fulfilling in a way my bank position never had been. Olivia, who had accepted a position with a consulting firm in Atlanta, called me regularly. "I'm so proud of you, Mom," she told me after I described my growing client list. "You're helping people during their worst moments." "I'm just doing what I wish someone had done for me earlier," I replied. Preparing women for whatever might come. Being valued for my expertise rather than my caregiving was a novel and empowering experience. The final divorce hearing fell on what would have been our 26th anniversary. A fitting end to a chapter of my life that had lasted more than half my lifetime. Marcus arrived looking haggard. I later learned that his distilling business was struggling without my financial support and management. Isabel was long gone, already dating a real estate developer from Savannah. Most of our mutual friends had distanced themselves from him after learning the full story of his deception and the public humiliation at Olivia's graduation. The judge upheld the prenuptial agreement in its entirety. Marcus left with his personal possessions, his struggling business, and the money in his private account, which after paying his attorney and Isabel's initial apartment expenses, was barely enough to secure a modest rental. I retained our home, my retirement accounts, and 72% of our joint investments, exactly as the prenuptial agreement stipulated in cases of proven infidelity. The justice was poetic. The very document Marcus had insisted upon to protect himself had become his downfall. As we left the courtroom for the last time, Marcus approached me quietly. "I made a terrible mistake," he said. "Is there any chance we could—" "No," I interrupted, gentle but absolutely firm. "That door is permanently closed." "I understand," he replied. And for once, I believed he actually did. "I hope you find happiness, Victoria. You deserve it." It was perhaps the first genuinely honest thing he had said to me in years. 8 months later, my consultancy, Sterling Financial Transitions, was thriving. I had moved from the small office to a larger space with river views and hired 3 associates. I specialized in helping women secure their financial futures, particularly through major life changes. Olivia visited often from Atlanta, proud of what I had built from the ashes of my marriage. "You know what's ironic?" she said during one visit. "If Dad had just been honest from the beginning, treated you with basic respect, he might have kept half of everything and maintained a relationship with both of us." "Sometimes people can't see beyond what they want in the moment," I replied. "They sacrifice everything real for something that turns out to be an illusion." The woman who had once defined herself as Marcus's wife and Olivia's mother had discovered a new identity. Mentor, business owner, advocate for women's financial independence. The envelope I had handed Marcus at the restaurant hadn't just been my escape plan. It had been the key to a door I never knew existed. Behind it I found not just revenge but reinvention. In securing my financial future, I had also reclaimed something far more valuable. Myself. If this story touched you somewhere deep, subscribe. The next story might feel as familiar as your own family.